And welcome back to the Dinkytown Sports Podcast with your hosts, Cody Hain, Cameron Madsen, Christian Otati, and Zach Hain. How's it going, boys? How are we feeling about this first video podcast?
It's nice to see you guys.
Zach's looking like he's doing a post-game press conference.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm an athlete. What can I say?
He's
live from the field after blowing the big game. Zach Hain.
Hey, no, I'm injured. All right, that's not funny.
So when you threw the batter that 0-2 curveball high in the zone, what did you think was going to happen?
First of all, I don't throw a curveball. Secondly, I was aiming for his head.
and missed middle, and he took it 450.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're here tonight. We have our picks, which I think is going to go swimmingly. It has to go better than last week, because if we do as bad as we did last week, I might just quit. I'll just quit.
We should.
We know nothing.
Chalk it.
We don't know football.
We don't know
ball. We don't know ball.
That was really
we don't
bad.
know ball.
But we got some interesting matchups. I think some prizing picks from me anyways. So we're just going to hop right into the disappointment of the podcast, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They are taking on number 12 Michigan. I still think Michigan's overrated. Just throwing that out there. And we're at the big house, and the Gophers just crap the bed against a not so good Iowa team. So I'm going to jump in with my pick. I'm going Michigan by 9.5. And I don't think it's going to be even close. I think they're going to beat us by 28. I would like to go over to Zach and see what he has to say.
You know, coming from last game, nobody feels good. Terrible feeling. Me and Christian went over the game film by ourselves, and honestly, it came down to execution, not tackling, not being where you're supposed to be, and not throwing the ball where it should be. It's like that right there is the absolute worst combo to have against a team where you can't make any mistakes. I think we do better this week. I don't think we win, but being a Gopher fan, I'm taking the over because I can't take Michigan minus 9.5.
I just did it to prove how much I do not have faith in our coaching staff. Christian, who do you got from a third-party point of view here?
So when I went over the film with Zach, I was less upset about how they played. I thought that Brosmer played pretty well. I think there were a few drops that we pointed out that were pretty crucial to those drives at the beginning of the second half that kind of put them behind. And we went over the interceptions that I think that Zach and I both agreed that they weren't really on Brosmer 100%, which I don't know. And I don't know that I trust Orgy yet. I don't think anyone trusts Orgy yet. I think that Michigan is in a really bad spot historically right now. And I think that this is an opportunity where Minnesota went into practice this week and they learned. I think that's what they got. You learn more from the mistakes and the issues than you do from succeeding. So I think that they went into that film room and this week in practice, and they really drilled the stuff that they had missed. I think the wide receiver is going to be able to get open more. It's going to be tough to attack their secondary, but I think Minnesota's defense, if they clean up what they messed up in their last game, I think if they figure out the tackling, if they figure out the assignments for gap filling in the linebackers especially, I think that was a problem that we pointed out. I think they have a chance to win this game. So I think Minnesota plus 9.5 is a good pick. So I'm going to go with that.
Cameron?
So based off of what Christian said, I like your idea of they're going to bounce back and they're really going to hit practice hard this week and focus on the little mistakes they've made. But I feel if Michigan gets up and they get up early, say 2 touchdowns, we don't necessarily have the firepower on offense to keep up with their defense. So that kind of scares me. I'm not too high on our offensive play calling already. So that being said, I'm just going to roll with Cody and take Michigan. much as it sucks to say, but I don't think this game will be close.
I honestly think this might be the first time I've ever picked against the Gophers. I will be pleasantly surprised if we cover. I just don't think it's going to happen. Christian, I know, like, I'm not worried about the talent. That's not at all what I'm worried about. I'm worried that our coaching staff is just going to, crap down their leg as they always do in big games. So
I don't think there's going to be enough points scored where 9.5 is like even feasible. Sorry,
I mean,
voice crack.
I mean,
Go
they,
for
they
it.
put the over under at 35.5. That is, I feel like, insultingly low. We give up 31 points to Iowa. I think this over is pretty easy, honestly.
I could see how that is the case, but I really think Minnesota's defense is going to learn from what they did. I think that they're going to have a hard time running on Minnesota. I think that's what they're going to be focusing on because that's how Caleb Johnson tore you guys up last week. It's when Zach and I were going over it. It was just like the front seven. Their scheme was terrible. They wouldn't fill the gaps properly. They were missing tackles in the backfield. Caleb Johnson had 2 huge runs in really big spots when he got hit 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And that's not something that I think Flex stands for. I think that's something very specifically. You might not like him for his play calling. I know he doesn't call the plays, but his idea of how plays should be ran and game planning. But I think his work ethic coaching is good, and I think his fundamentals coaching is good, and I think that those two are going to come big for this Michigan game.
So I actually agree with you on that with Fleck. I always said that he was good at developing, he was good at recruiting, he's good at being that motivational leader. I've just had an issue with how he runs games, and I know he doesn't call plays, but he calls timeouts. He'll call 2 timeouts in the first quarter. Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. He'll do it in the second half too of a close game. It doesn't matter. He'll call them all in the third quarter, and it's a close game, and that's going to come back to bite you in the fourth quarter. I just have an issue with how he runs the game, even if he's not calling plays.
Yeah, I didn't think that really was the issue in last week's game. I thought it was more of a fundamental problem, and
No,
I think they'll get that cleaned up. So, I obviously, this is kind of a long shot pick. I don't think that Minnesota really is going to be that close in this game, but Michigan is beatable. They've been played close in the Big House several times. I don't think anyone's going into the Big House this season specifically worried. So
could be a trap game or something.
maybe.
But moving on, we have Oklahoma State at Kansas State. I don't know how I feel about either of these teams right now. This is just Oklahoma State and Kansas State both absolutely crushed us last week. I don't know how I feel about picking between the two of them right now. I just don't. If it was any other teams in the Big 12, I'd have a better idea of what I'm going to do. But these two teams are just, I don't know. Because
There's a few games like that this week.
Yeah,
it's
K-State.
Like two teams that have burnt us are playing each other.
Yeah, and K-State looked really good against Arizona. And Arizona might not be as good as they were last year, but they're still not a bad team. So that's weird. Oklahoma State, I guess, really hasn't, besides the South Dakota State game, hasn't done what they're supposed to do yet.
We covered, who did they cover against for 8 and double OT?
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Because I believe Christian had plus 7.5 that game. So when it covered in double overtime, it was hilarious.
Yeah, that was brutal.
I'm sorry. I just had to laugh because that's the worst luck you can have.
I'll pick first on this game. I think I am prepped for this game more than most. Kansas State last week ran into a lot of like fundamental issues. They had turnovers big time. They fumbled the ball. They threw picks. I think it wasn't the norm. I think last week against BYU is going to be the exception for Kansas State this season. I think they're going to bounce back a lot. That's why they're still in the polls, because BYU was unranked. but they didn't drop too far because I think everyone realizes that that was kind of a game where they beat themselves more than BYU beat them, even though the score was insane. It was 39-9 or 38-9 or whatever.
Mhm.
But on the other side of the field, you have Oklahoma State, who have looked bad in every game they've played.
Yeah.
They've not been themselves. Ollie Gordon has been, let's call it what it is, awful. He's been really bad. He's your supposed Doak Walker Award winner, and he's what, 3 yards a carry right now?
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. And I think that's a lot on the O-line not playing to what they need to be. I think they're a little too worried about their pass blocking situation that they might have let that run blocking that was so good last year slip. And that's an issue because while Alan Bowman is solid and he can carry those games, you want to be dominant on the ground first because that opens up the rest of the field rather than the other way around. So I think here, Kansas State minus 4.5 is going to be the way to go. I think Oklahoma State has skated by in the rankings, and I think that they're looking to get bounced. They just haven't looked good. Arkansas should have put them away, and that was brutal. But Kansas State is a good team still, I think, and I think that last week is not going to be what they look like going forward.
All right, Zach, who do you got for us in this matchup?
You know, as much as I was thinking about taking K-State, I think I got to go Oklahoma State. I think we are really underplaying Utah here. They lost 22-19. I think Utah is flying under the radar right now. They have a chance to do something special out there with Cam Rising. So losing to 22-19, I know it sucks. You probably should have won that game. But I think it could be worse. You came back against a decent Arkansas team. You beat a good South Dakota State team. You beat up on Tulsa. I think Oklahoma State is slowly starting to figure it out on what they're supposed to be doing. I think they're going to lean more towards a passing game now since Ollie Gordon hasn't been what he should be. I still think this is going to be a close game, but I do think that Oklahoma State is going to come out with a victory on Saturday.
All right. It's interesting you say that. I was actually planning on going last here, but I kind of want to, since Zach kind of brought up Utah, and that was going to be kind of part of reasons of why I was going to pick who I was. Utah hasn't impressed me either. They're a top 10 team, but they haven't played anybody, and they've been somewhat close games against teams they should just absolutely be dog walking. So I don't know how I feel about Utah being number 10. I think that's the Cam Rising effect. But Kansas State, they're good for one really bad loss a year, especially early in the season. That's their MO. They'll lose like a bad game early in the season, then turn it around. I think I can't believe I'm going to say this with Ollie Gordon being on the other team, but I think DJ Giddens is a better running back right now. He's got 68 carries, 417 yards, and 1 touchdown. He doesn't have the touchdown output, but the yards per carry is crazy. I do give the edge in quarterback to Bowman. He's played really well this year, kind of surprising to me. That's the one bright spot for Oklahoma State. And then Johnson, he had a bad game last game. I don't know if that was just like coming forward, just having a bad game. I think he's going to do well, especially with the running game he has. That play action is going to be really good. So I'm going to take Kansas State minus 4.5. I lost faith in Oklahoma State. When they beat the Jacks like that, I kind of thought that maybe they'd take another step forward the next week because South Dakota State did have a good defense. I know Arkansas is a Power 4 school. But South Dakota State is no slouch of an FCS team, and they don't get beat by 24 very often, even when they play up a level. But I've lost faith in Oklahoma State. I don't think they're a playoff contender. I don't think they're a contender for the Big 12 title. So I'm going to go Kansas State minus 4.5. Cameron?
All right. Well, looking back, Oklahoma State has beat Kansas State 4 out of the last 5 times. And the last 5 out of the 6 times they've played each other, the unders have hit. So Taking a look at the under, it's set at 54.5. Pretty high. Two running dominant teams. The under's intriguing, but I've been burned on the under 3 times in 1 week, so I'm not going to take that. Keys to success for Oklahoma State. If Chase Brown has a third of the team's receiving yards, and then if they can shut down Giddens, I don't believe Kansas State has an offense outside of those two. So if they really focus on those two, they should be able to win the game. So I think OK State plus 4.5. I mean, there's a chance they still lose, but they could lose by a field goal and I'd be happy with it. So give me OK State.
I mean, I honestly think this is kind of a toss-up for the spread here.
I really wanted to take the under.
At 54.5.
You still can.
No.
The night is still young.
I think after last week, we're all looking for something different right now because last week was just absolutely atrocious.
Only overs this week.
Yeah, Zach, you know what? Zach just does what he does. Let's be fair. A lot of his picks, his reasoning behind him is weird, but he gets them right.
And it doesn't work.
Well, it didn't work last week, but it worked before that.
Okay, don't get me wrong. These last 2 weeks haven't been the greatest, but normally my formula works.
Hey guys, have a quick look at the winning percentage. On
none of us are above 500 right now.
Yeah, but who's the highest? Let's be real.
Christian is.
You can't say that because none of us are above 500.
Zach, I have now eclipsed Zach, and I started out 0-4.
My last.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, sorry. We are just still dreading last week. I think we still got some PTSD from it right now.
Pent up emotions.
Yeah. I mean, I know the NFL analysts, like the pro analysts and the NFL are feeling the same way we are right now. So I don't think we should feel too bad about this. Next up, we have Maryland and Indiana. Indiana is favored by 7 points. That is not a surprise. Indiana has looked pretty dang good, especially against UCLA. And I know UCLA is not the team they were last year, but to beat a Power 5 or to beat a conference opponent like that, if you're Indiana, that's a good sign. They're just not used to winning over there. Cameron, who do you have in this game and why?
You know, Maryland has been hanging around for the past few years, but I don't think that's the same Maryland football team that they've had. And Indiana has shown us a lot. They're very well improved. I think they've got a decent squad. I think they've got a lot of potential to grow later on in the season. I personally like the over here. I think points will be scored. It's two teams that are trying to kind of dig themselves out of the hole. I feel like they're going to have two high-powered game plans for point production. So I personally don't think their defenses are that great. I know Indiana's been doing a little bit better on the defensive side, but I'm going to take the over, 52.5.
All right. Zach, who do you have in this Big Ten matchup?
Yeah, I don't think this is any surprise. They got the over set at 52.5, which Indiana would have covered against everybody besides FIU, like the over would have hit. So I think right there is a big green flag for me. Maryland can put up points too, so I think this is a very clear overmatch. These teams, like, they have decent defenses, but I think the offenses are going to be too high powered to like be able to hit the under. So I think the over is probably the safest bet here.
Christian?
I don't have a lot to say about this game. I'm not a huge fan of Maryland. They just don't look right to me, even though they're 3-1. They just the eye test watching them. I don't think they really pass for me. And Curtis Rourke is like maybe the best quarterback in college football right now. He's top 5 in passer rating, and he's got over 1,000 yards already. He hasn't thrown a pick. He takes care of the ball. And they have a pretty good run game, and their defense has been staunch, to say the least. I don't think they've played any high-powered offenses yet, so I think this will be the best test for their defense. And on the other side, Maryland really hasn't played anyone either. I think Michigan State is pretty good, but I think Indiana is a better team than they are. And they haven't really played anyone outside of that. So it's hard to tell, especially this early in the season, how these teams will shake out. But Indiana's really hot right now, and I'm going to ride that. So I'm going to go Indiana -7.
So I've been debating this because I do think Indiana's the better team. I don't think Michigan State is going to be like world beaters this year. They did beat Maryland. But the big one to me, University of Virginia, beat them by 14. I don't know what they're supposed to look like this year, but typically they're not the most powerhouse-like team. And then they only beat Villanova, an FCS team that's ho-hum, by 18. I mean, Indiana has absolutely crushed everyone they've played this year. I mean, they are on fire right now. And I do give the quarterback edge to Indiana. I also give the running back edge to Indiana. Receivers, Felton is a heck of a receiver, so I can't really say that I'd give the edge to Indiana. But I've been going back and forth. I'm going to take the over here because my record cannot be destroyed by a game that Indiana wins by like 6 or something. But I do think Indiana wins. I do think it's going to be more, but I know for a fact that over is going to hit because Indiana's offense.
God, I don't feel good about mine anymore.
Indiana's
No,
offense
for a
is
fact.
really good. Maryland's offense, for the most part, has put up some decent amount of points. I think the over is going to hit. But if Indiana wins by 7, I think the over definitely hits because it's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a tight game. There's not going to be like this, 10-point win. So for that reason, I am taking the over here. And I believe that I was the finale on this one.
Yeah, I wanted to ask though, quick before we moved on, if when Brendan Sorsby transferred to Cincinnati, if I would have told you guys that they would have started 4-0 and possibly 5-0, what would you have said?
I would have called you crazy.
Because they were predicted to be maybe the worst in the Big Ten this year. I think it's crazy what's been done over there. Full credit to the coaching staff at Indiana. They've done a really good job. And Curtis Rourke having no picks so far this season is insane. He's kept really clean and a non-94 attempt. I don't know. Indiana looks really good. I think they're legit this year. They should be ranked, I think, in my opinion.
So do I. It's not really who they beat, but it's how they beat everyone.
And UCLA is not great, but that's still a big name win. And Charlotte has been good and is pretty good. So that's they've have some. I think they have better wins than Maryland does, for sure.
Yeah, so do I. I think. Yeah, I don't have faith in Indiana. I know Cameron's favorite quarterback Talia is not there, but apparently he made a difference. What did I say? Indiana?
Yes, you did.
I meant Maryland. Good job,
He
Cody.
made a difference.
Talia apparently made a difference, even though Cam is going to deny it, and he will take that to his grave.
Cam hates greatness.
Yeah,
just because Cam of the family name.
Cam hates the Tunga Vailoas.
He's a local rec league coach that won't play someone because their last name is something. He's just political.
It's very political with Cameron. And it's all because his brother is getting absolutely concussed like every other game in the NFL right now.
That is not the reason why I got burned so many times by Maryland. I started hating them. That's why I started hating Talia, is because I picked them so many times and they never covered.
Yeah, Cam's not evil. Cam isn't evil.
I mean,
that would be evil. An evil
throwing out
hate
accusations.
I'm throwing that out there. No, in all seriousness though, hopefully Tua can come back and play. He's a heck of a quarterback. All right, up next we have the Nebraska Fighting Matt Rules and the Perdon'ts. I say Perdon't because I will not pick them. Don't pick them in any bets. Purdue sucks. Almost as much as the Gophers. So I'll go first in this one. Nebraska's -10 here. And right now I don't know how I feel about Nebraska after their loss last week. But I know how I feel about Purdue. They got absolutely crushed by Notre Dame the week after they lost to Northern Illinois, which I know that Notre Dame was out for blood in that game because they kind of got embarrassed on national TV to a former Gopher coach. We should have kept him. Anyways, I think Nebraska is going to absolutely trounce Purdue. Purdue lost to Oregon State by 17. They beat Indiana State 49-0. Woo! Big win there. And obviously the 66-7 loss to Notre Dame. And I don't think Notre Dame's all that I don't think they're a top 10 team. So I'm going to go Nebraska here, and it's not going to be a close one. Nebraska -10 to me is a lock. So go Fighting Matt rules. Cameron, who do you have in this one?
I think that Illinois loss for Nebraska in overtime stings. I'm still pretty high on Nebraska. Obviously, they can still go and compete for the Big Ten championship. Is it going to be a little harder of a path now? Probably. But I think Illinois is a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. I think they've always had a good defensive program. They held Nebraska to 24 points, including overtime. So I'd say that's huge because I think Nebraska has a lot of firepower. I think I bet on Purdue 6 times last year, and I went 0 for 6. So like Cody said, I'm with him. I will never bet on Purdue again. And if they somehow beat me in this bet, I'm going to be upset. But I don't think this game will be close either. It's at least 2 touchdowns, so give me Nebraska -10.
All right. Christian?
I liked Purdue. I thought I picked them to cover against Notre Dame, and obviously they ran into the Montezuma's revenge. They ran into the Pope and company and got crusaded by the Catholics. Hudson Card has not looked as good as he did towards the end of last year. I was pretty high on him. I thought he was going to improve over this season, but that turned out not to be the case. And I still am on Team Raiola. I think he's really good. I think they just ran into an Illinois team that is hot and possibly a better team. And that was still a close game. That was anyone's game. If Nebraska didn't soil their pants in overtime, they probably would have had a chance. But -10 sucks, because if it was like 7, I would take it really happily, because this feels like one of those games where Purdue has one of those Purdue moments where they beat a team they definitely should not have, or keeps it close. But I'm just going to have to go Nebraska -10. I now am very aware of what I'm saying when I'm saying it, and knowing I'm going to regret it later on. Because I've been listening back to like my explanation for things, and I'm like, why did I say that? So now I'm thinking that while I'm picking things, and it's becoming a real issue. But I'm going to go Nebraska -10.
The funny thing about that Nebraska-Illinois game, as soon as it went to overtime, I was still praying that Nebraska would cover in the second overtime, would get, real lucky like that again. But going into overtime, the only thing I thought to myself is Nebraska is going to Nebraska this game away. Like a 1-score game going into overtime, a decent team, they're going to lose by 1 score. They haven't changed the culture enough yet to win those close games. But yeah, that was crazy. Zach, who do you have in this matchup?
All right, boys. It's that time of the week.
Atta, baby.
I was sitting here thinking before, just thinking to myself, I don't like Nebraska -10. I think Nebraska is going to be Nebraska, but I don't like Purdue +10. I don't like the over-under at 47.5. So for the first time in Dinkytown Sports history, I'm calling a push. It's going to be 10 points on the dot. I'm calling the push. Stupid pick of the week. Write it in right now. It's happening. It's happening. I'm telling you right now. Nebraska's win by 10 points.
For the first time in podcast history, that's great. And for a stupid pick of the week, I could actually see this one coming through. Like, Nebraska at
I'm
the end of the
confident-
game
I'm confident.
just giving up one really bad play when they're up by like 17 and then Purdue scores. I could see that happening. I hope it doesn't,
It's happening.
but
It's happening.
that's a
Just watch.
crazy thing
It's
to call the
happening.
push.
So what
I
are you
have
writing?
no-
What are you
Yeah.
writing down though? Are you saying Nebraska minus 10 or Purdue plus 10?
No, he said
'Cause
push.
That's
He's-
not a bet.
push.
That's not a bet you can make.
That's
You
true.
have-
Well, I'm
It,
making
it will push
I
if you
know-
pick one. So pick one.
No, because I'm predicting the push. I want it to be a push.
Zach, it doesn't matter because if you call the push, you can't bet on that. So you still have to go plus, or you have to
I'm
take
pretty
the
sure you
favorite.
can bet
I
a
don't-
push.
I'm pretty sure you can
I
too.
don't-
The odds are really like high,
Well,
obviously,
some
because
sports
that's hard
books
to call.
don't
Me
even
check
do
FanDuel.
push. Don't even do push is.
I
They
know
always
that
do
Flip
0.5.
does.
Well,
You
I'm,
guys
Flip
keep
I'm
does.
just
talking.
saying
I'm gonna
here,
look.
Cam's
I'm
looking to
just
see if he
saying
could do
here,
that. Because
even if it's not a real bet, I'm still taking it because screw you guys. It's a fun pick.
So
it's a
so
stupid
what
pick.
he's actually
I get
picking
special
is
rights here.
he's picking the score or like the exact win margin, which I
Yeah.
think is a bet
Yes.
on DraftKings or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he's saying the exact win margin is 10.
10 points.
So
Yeah.
10
that
points.
actually would be. I will try to find that on DraftKings right now. You can introduce the next game though.
Okay. So after Zach's just bizarre, stupid pick of the week,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to figure out a way to get a graphic that before we get on, he can just tell us what it is. And I'm going to like shoot that graphic across the screen because this is hilarious.
Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo.
I'm definitely going to pick I might sing it myself, just a dumb opening song for it. All right. Next up, we got Wisconsin taking on number 13 USC in Pasadena. I don't like Wisconsin. I'm just going to throw that out there, but I'm going to toss this over to Cameron for the first pick.
You know what? I'd say for the first quarter and a half, they played Bama tight. It was somewhat of a fight, and then Bama hit some big plays and kind of extended it out and it took it to Wisconsin. I don't mind. I don't think Wisconsin has a good enough offense. I think their defense isn't bad. I haven't been watching a lot of USC, but I don't mind Wisconsin plus 15.5 here. I think they can hang around long enough, maybe play some field position here and there, get a turnover or two, keep it close. I think 15.5 is a lot. Granted, they played Alabama at home, which kind of makes a difference. This game's in Southern California, so that kind of scares me, but I'm going to take Wisconsin plus 15.5.
So I'm going to go next because Christian's still trying to figure out Zach's stupid pick of the week here.
I couldn't find it on FanDuel.
I mean, because you definitely can pick the margin of victory. Nobody does it because it's
Yes,
so hard
but
to do.
on DraftKings it is a range. So the range would be
Oh.
win, like Nebraska win by
Mhm.
7 to 12.
Gotcha.
That's the closest I could find so far, but I'm looking on FanDuel now trying to get.
Can I just
Okay.
make my range 10?
Can I just 10 to 10?
So they do correct score on FanDuel. Yeah, so they just do range 7 to 12.
Okay,
Oh,
so-
winning margin by 10 points. No. Oh.
So what you're saying is Zach has to take them 7 to 12.
Yeah, that seems to be the closest that there is.
So are you going to do that, Zach?
I mean, I guess if I have to, I will, but I still like my pick.
Okay, we can
Okay.
do just for his sake, but if one watching were to want to do that bet, it would
Yes.
be right now live. What day is it today?
The
Wednesday,
25th.
September 25th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central. It is plus 450 for Nebraska to win 7 to 12. So that would be better than betting the spread or the over-under in
Yes.
terms of your odds.
So I just want to throw this out there. I want to keep it because it is stupid pick of the week, and it's so stupid that they don't even bet on it in real life.
Yeah.
So I think that's hilarious.
Perfect.
I
That's
think
why
you
it's
could
perfect.
do that. I think if you walked into a casino and you went up to some guy and was like, if you
Oh,
went
they'd
down
totally
to
let you do
Diamond
it.
Joe's
Oh yeah,
and you were like,
100%.
hey, can I do Nebraska by 10 exactly?
Like they have to get
They
10.
would have to do that for you because it'd be free money, first off.
They definitely would, because Zach's an idiot.
Yeah, it's
But
free money
anyways.
until it hits.
Yeah, Zach bumbles in like he just drove 2 hours to Iowa or whatever. Just to come.
How far is Iowa
I
from
can't
Marshall? That's
do
got to
that.
be more
I'm
than
an
2 hours.
It's anyways. Uh, anyways, I'm an NCAA athlete. I can't gamble. I don't gamble.
We're just
Just wanna
throwing that
y'all
out
know
there.
that.
It's a disclaimer.
If one were,
He didn't know this rule.
if one were to do that,
Yes. And obviously he doesn't sports gamble because he didn't even know that you couldn't do that on sports apps, on sportsbook apps. So
yes, he's
that should
clearly
tell you
a
close
novice,
everything you need to know.
amateur.
He is an amateur sports bettor, and none of us have won anything for quite a while. So
I am not a sports bettor.
be
I am not a
The
fair
sports
last
bettor.
bet that I hit on college football was Georgia Tech beating FSU. That was the only bet I've hit so far this year.
Yo, I've been betting on all different pro sports, and I've only had two hit for a total win for money winning $1.20. So, all right. We got Wisconsin at USC. Cam said that he's going to take Wisconsin plus 15.5. USC is another one of those teams that bit us in the butt last week. I think we all took them with the points.
Nope.
Let me just double. No, we didn't. Who took?
No, I took Michigan 5.5. Remember?
Yes, which was crazy to me because he was talking about how bad Michigan was, and he took him plus 5.5. That was awesome.
Tyler Van Dyke is out for the season. By the way.
Oh, okay. So they'll
If
probably
that
do better,
changes
is what you're. Wisconsin will probably do better, is what you're saying.
He tore his ACL.
That doesn't help much.
Cam looks like he wants to change his bet.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with.
Forgot about that.
I'm gonna go with USC minus 15.5 just because of that. If Van Dyke was starting, I would probably go Wisconsin. I would take the Skunks, but yeah, I'm gonna go USC minus 15.5 here just because of that fact. And I think Cam just said he was going to as well.
No. I'm looking.
You're
up,
sticking.
I'm looking up the backup. The backup.
He's smart. He's doing the research, and I'm just sitting over here saying, no, they're not gonna. Yeah.
Well, we've seen him play a little bit. He played like pretty much the same as Van Dyke did. Like there's really not much of a huge drop off or a big increase. So like they're very similar in skill sets. So you're pretty much getting the Van Dyke part 2.
Van Dyke 2. Yeah.
Van Dyke part 2.
Honestly, he might have even played a little bit better than Van Dyke did.
He had a 50% completion against Alabama, 125 yards and a touchdown. I mean, they didn't really have anything. Yeah, he didn't really have anything. As a team, they didn't really have anything going. I'm just gonna go quick. I don't think I have much to say. I'm just gonna go the over here. I think that's pretty safe. I think Miller Moss is one of those guys that can just like torch bad teams. I feel like so, even though I don't like him very much.
I am also switching to the over because I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if they're going to cover that because against Alabama, they covered it by half a point. And Alabama put up 42. So, but I don't think USC has as good of a defense, obviously. So I think the over is a safe bet in all honesty. So, and then I don't have to pick the Skunks, even though I like picking against them.
Just a little refresher here. Last year he got to throw the ball a little bit too, went 76 for 152. Still 50% right on the nuts. Threw for 777 yards, 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception. So I still feel comfortable with it. Did that as a freshman, which take it as you want. Depends on who he was playing against, but I'll still take Wisconsin. I don't like Wisconsin, but I like them for this pick.
Yeah, the thing is with this is if Wisconsin does cover that 15.5 point spread, I think the over is going to hit. Because I think USC is going to put up some points. Because I don't think Wisconsin has as good of a defense as Michigan does. So.
Nope.
All right, next up, we got a Kentucky school versus an Indiana school in number 15 Louisville taking on number 16 Notre Dame in South Bend, in the Catholic stronghold of the United States, I would say, just because the Catholic school is there. Anyways, Christian, who do you got on this one? We're going to go to you first.
Outside of a very obvious game, this would have been game of the week for sure. I think this is two programs that are on the cusp. I think Notre Dame is missing a very crucial piece, and that's the quarterback. I think Riley Leonard has not done what he's supposed to do, what he was meant to do. I think that the NIU game is what is a start of a trend. I really think that Purdue is not good, and they ran into Notre Dame, who were feeling some type of way. But Louisville has the better quarterback. They have the better receivers, in my opinion. The running game is going to be an issue because Jeremiah Love is really good for Notre Dame. But Louisville's defense has been pretty staunch so far. They've only played 3 games, so they're a little fresher, let's say. Georgia Tech is a pretty good team, so I think that's a good win. I think they had a tough win on their. I gotta go Louisville here. Louisville plus 6.5. I think that's a little favorable to Notre Dame, seeing how bad their QB play has been.
Honestly, I think this is blasphemous because you're choosing against the Catholics.
Yeah, sorry. I will repent. I will confess and repent.
You better go tell the priest that you chose against the Fighting Irish. Zach, who do you got in this one?
You know, this is going to be a very interesting game. I don't know if I have faith in Louisville to be able to win or lose by less than 7. I think Notre Dame has been playing a lot better since their NIU loss. I think while that Notre Dame is gradually getting worse and worse over the years, I think that they'll still pull this game out. I don't see, looking at Louisville's schedule, like they played a decent Georgia Tech team whose really only good win right now is the good win, I should say, in quotations, is Florida State. So I don't like this at all. They lost, and Georgia Tech lost to Syracuse, who I don't think is that good of a team. So I'm going Notre Dame minus 6.5 here. I don't think Louisville has what it takes to be able to beat Notre Dame's defense enough to lose by less than 7.
Okay. So sounds like you're taking the Catholics.
I did take Notre Dame. That's what I said.
Okay, so Zach's taking the Catholics. What a good Catholic boy he is.
Don't ever come at that ever again. I will punch you.
I mean, you are Catholic. Anyways, I am going against the Catholics here. Personally, because I just don't think Notre Dame's that great. I know Georgia Tech, is iffy, but they played everyone close so far. And the thing that sucks is this is in South Bend. If this is in Louisville, I have no issues taking Louisville this game. But I am going to go Louisville plus 6.5. Personally, I think they're going to win. I think NIU kind of exposed Notre Dame, and then they ran into just a horrid Purdue team to bounce back, and then ran up the score because they felt so bad for losing to NIU. Yeah, so give me Louisville plus 6.5 here. I was thinking about taking the over, but I'm just going to take it. I think Louisville plus 6.5 is the way to go here. Cameron?
All right. Well, look at Louisville. They've put up 62, 49, 31 in their only 3 games they've played. And then you look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's put up 23, 16, 66, 28. The over is pretty low here. It's at 45.5. I feel like both teams can ball out. Sure, Notre Dame's QB play isn't great, but they still have a stud running back that I mean, he can break one at any time. So, and what you really need is just a 21-25 ball game, which is super realistic here. I mean, 21-25 isn't exactly a realistic score, obviously, in football terms. But you kind of get what I mean. 46 isn't tough to achieve. I like the over here.
Yeah, I think that is the safest pick, but I also think Louisville plus 6.5 is a safe pick. I think if Notre Dame wins, it's going to come down to a field goal. I mean, I could be wrong. Let's look at our record last week, but
Field goal
That-
to make it
We're all
46.
wrong somehow.
yeah, all of us were wrong, which is very impressive considering some of those games. Like some people took the over and some people took the spread, and we were still somehow all wrong. It was last week, for as bad as it was actually really impressive. We did that bad as a collective.
You know, I think in real life, I'm going to bet Louisville money line on this one.
I think I am too.
I'm that
Me too.
confident.
And better odds
okay.
too.
You know, I really love that you guys are this confident because that makes me more confident about my pick after watching last week.
Let's look at the
all wrong
winning
last week.
percentage. Let's look at the winning percentage.
Yes, last time I checked, you have the lowest winning percentage out of anyone on the pod right now.
Let's go. I'm not last.
Cam and I are
No,
tied for
I
What do
third.
you mean? You guys do.
For second.
You guys are both tied for last.
I'm second. Yeah, I'm second.
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong.
You
My
know,
bad,
you
guys.
said something earlier along
Cody.
the lines of
Yeah.
that, and I let it slide because I thought
Sorry,
you just
I was looking at
misspoke, but-
Christian's record, not my own, because I was
Yeah.
dreaming.
Yeah, keep your peepers off my win record. Okay.
Yeah,
pal?
sorry, guys.
See, the only reason that Christian is one or have better than me is because of that push. If he doesn't have that push, we'd be tied.
Well, I do, and I got my money back. So
Yes. All right. Next up, we got number 3 Ohio State at Michigan State. Personally, I don't love this line. It's Ohio State minus 24, and the over-under is set at 48.5. Now, I say I don't like that scoring line. I know Michigan State hasn't been great, but it's at Michigan State. Michigan State has been known to play teams really tough at home. I mean, they've upset Michigan there a couple of times when they weren't supposed to, and things like that. I don't think they're going to win by any means, but by Ohio State by 24, I think is extremely high. I think if Ohio State does win by 24, that over-under of 48.5 is going to hit. For me on this one, I'm taking the over just because weird things happen at Michigan State. So I went first on this one. Christian, who do you got?
Michigan State plus 24. Book
I
it.
don't actually think that's a crazy
Wow.
pick. I don't think that's a
Oh,
crazy pick.
you know,
That's not even my stupid pick of the week.
Yeah. I actually like
That's
that
my
pick.
That's not okay. I'll say it. How else could I word that?
I'm kidding.
My
I'm
colossal
kidding. I'm
calamity
kidding.
of the week.
That'd be like taking Michigan State money line there if it was a calamity.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, Cam, who do you got in this one?
Well, we look at history here. Ohio State has won the last 8 matchups against Michigan State. They've also covered in 7 of the last 8. What I've always learned in history class is history repeats itself. So, with that being said, I think Ohio State will cover here. Not very sure about it, but that's what I'm going with.
I honestly think that's a worse pick than Michigan State plus 24 here. But you do you, dude. I mean, we are all dumb, so let's go with that. Zach, who do you have in this
He
game?
just slips that in right before he goes to Zach. Doesn't even give you a rebuttal.
No.
That's the classic host thing.
Yeah,
Take
no
a
kidding.
dig and pass it on.
Also, Cam, I would like to point out to you, history doesn't always repeat itself. Look at the Iowa unders this year compared to last year. Just saying, it's not 100% true.
That's 1 year.
Just saying. If we did this year before, I'm pretty sure we'd be saying the same thing about that year. But anyways, I'm
Okay,
also going
2
to take
years.
OSU minus 24.
This is the last 8 years.
All right. So Zach took the Buckeyes.
I'm taking
Fofo.
Christian
OSU. I think it was pretty easy, honestly.
Christian took Michigan State plus 24. Cameron took Ohio State minus 24.
I'm just gonna say here that I'm shooting for the stars. I'm shooting for the stars based off the fact that Ohio State was predicted to be good, and they have not played anyone of note.
No, they typically don't.
And the Marshall game wasn't a real killing. And Marshall scored all their points in the first half. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Ohio State is overrated.
That's fine by me. You can say that all you want to.
Yeah, I don't know how right that is, but you do you, buddy.
We'll see. Hey, winning percentage, pal.
Personally, I hope Christian actually gets that right, because if he does, I think that over is hitting. So
I think if I hit this and then the Michigan game last week, I get genius. I get I know ball status if I get both of those.
Too bad
when you're below 500 with the rest of us.
Too bad everything else that week sucked.
I know this much more ball than Zach right now.
You know Michigan ball.
The best part was Zach talking
if they're
all that
playing
crap.
football on the anywhere in the mitten, I'm on it. I'm locked in. Anywhere outside of the mitten, it's really bad.
If we only pick certain teams, we do really well.
Yep.
All right. Well, now we are moving on to the game of the week. I'm pretty sure game day is going to be there. If they're not, it is criminal. I was going to say if they aren't, it's criminal. True. When is that hurricane supposed to hit?
Friday. I think
it's hitting Friday, and it's going into the Panhandle and coming up and over. It'll be past once game time comes. They will play. James Spann, who saved my life several times during tornadoes when I was at school, said that they are playing football at the time it is supposed to be played.
All right, perfect. That's all I needed to know. So in this one, Georgia is favored by 2 points. They are playing at Saban Field. That's really weird to say. He just retired last year, guys. Anyways, it's Georgia -2. The over-under is set at 48.5. How do you guys feel about that over-under before we start our picks here?
That's right where I thought it would be.
I think they're looking at the defenses here, and
yeah. 20s. I mean, 20s. Yeah, that's where the game is going to be, I think.
Yeah, I think they're both going to put up 20-some points. I was just curious how you guys felt about that, because I may or may not have felt it was a little high.
That's what I would lean it as high instead of it being low.
Yes,
I think that these are probably two of the. I think Georgia's defense is worse than it usually is, but it's still really good. You got Kirby Smart. It's going to be great.
A bad Georgia defense is still a top 5 defense in the NCAA.
Right, yeah.
Let's be fair.
And then Alabama obviously is going to have a pretty good defense. So
yes, and this is crazy to me. So Georgia is favored in the spread, but it gives Alabama a 66% chance of winning. ESPN analytics.
Well, they're not connected technically.
Yeah, I know, because the bettors are choosing the lines basically, but yeah, this game is going to be interesting because Georgia did not look impressive against Kentucky. That was crazy. They crushed Clemson, which is looking better because Clemson is starting to turn it on. I mean, then they beat Tennessee Tech 48-3.
Boom.
Personally, I think Alabama has had some more challenges along the way. I think they're battle tested. I really do. I mean, I know USF isn't a good team, but facing adversity also isn't a bad thing, especially when you still end up winning by 26. They shut out Western Kentucky, who I didn't think they would shut them out. So that was kind of impressive. They beat Wisconsin 42-10. Wisconsin not great, but that's still a 32-point win against a normally decent Big Ten school. I can't believe I'm going to say this because I typically don't. I don't know if I've ever picked Alabama over Georgia before, but I am going to go Alabama +2. Christian, you are the in-house expert on everything SEC. Who do you got in this one?
Oh, hold on.
Oh, never mind, guys. He's going to get his
Just gotta
jersey
go
real
pull
quick.
Milrow off the wall.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh,
Jerry
Judy.
Judy, my guy. Ooh, roll Tide.
We're wrapping
Fake
this up
Alabama
already.
fan.
Fake Alabama fan. What do you mean, fake Alabama fan? The dude went to school there for 4 years.
Oh, and my diploma, by the way. I set it up all nice for everyone.
Oh yeah, that's really
This
cool.
is the first time that the University of Alabama is home underdogs since 2007.
That's nuts.
I think it's sad. I think that Georgia is not going to play as bad as they did against Kentucky, but there are vulnerabilities on this team that were not there last year. And Alabama, I think, has gotten better as a team since last year.
Mhm.
And Alabama beat Georgia last year. So
Okay.
there's a chasm between Kirby Smart and Kalen DeBoer in my head. The coaching obviously, very obviously, goes in favor of Georgia. So this
Yes.
is going to be a game. I don't think it's ever in any way going to be a 2-score game.
Mhm.
I don't think Bama should have been underdogs. I think it's home. If it's neutral site, sure, but they're at home, and former President Donald Trump will be there.
Mhm.
The senators will be there. This is a spectacle to be had. I was
This-
in the stadium when the last big game like this happened, and Alabama did lose, but I can't not pick Bama here. I really can't. I think that they have improved when Georgia has not. I think Carson Beck is not built for these kinds of games. You're going to really be relying on the defense to stop Milrow, and I think that Alabama has seen enough of their issues already to have dealt with them solidly. I think, like last year, the USF game is their learning game, and then they're going to kill everyone the rest of the year until they run into a cheating Michigan. Anywho, Alabama +2. I think someone would take my piece of paper with my name on it that says I graduated with a bachelor's degree and burned it if I picked anyone but Alabama. So
As the only one here without an actual college diploma. Actually, I don't know if Zach has a diploma yet, but
Associates.
reading is for rich people. Anyways, Cam, I want to hear your opinion on this game because I have a feeling you're not going to agree with us.
We got 2 points. 1, Tuscaloosa.
Hey.
Alabama's playing at home. It's going to be a loud environment. Like Christian was saying, it's the first time they're home dogs since 07. I'll get back to that. The other thing is like he was saying as well, I don't think Carson Beck is proven enough to come into Tuscaloosa and come out with a win. But going back to the 2007 year, Georgia against Alabama. Georgia is 0-7 since 2007 in the regular season against Alabama. As we all know, this is a regular season game. Might as well make it 0-8. Give me Alabama.
I can't believe that he didn't disagree with us. So
I'm not high on Georgia, honestly.
not after what I've seen so far this year, no. Zach, give us your pick.
Well, guys, I hate to be different here,
No, you
but
wouldn't.
I love hating Alabama.
He's
There
going for
are
the
holes.
push.
He's going for the push again, boys.
No stupid pick of the week. Already got that one out of the way. But there are holes on both of these teams that have really shown to me the past few weeks. Like this game against Kentucky, I wasn't even watching it. I'm going to be completely honest with you because I didn't think it'd be much of a game. I was also wasn't able to watch it, unfortunately. But I think Georgia coming off a bye week, Bama coming off a bye week, I'm going to give the edge to Georgia here like you said, the coaching is definitely in favor of Georgia. But I think Alabama's inconsistency on offense needs to be fixed before I take Bama. Later in the season, this is a completely different game. This is Alabama's first SEC game. Georgia's second. I think Georgia got that wake-up call from Kentucky like Bama did with USF, just with a better team, obviously. I think Georgia actually will win this game by 10 or more. I think Alabama's inconsistencies are too vulnerable right now for them to be able to beat Georgia. So I'm taking Georgia -2.
Personally, I think Christian should fight Zach in the parking lot.
I'm
I think he
curious.
should-
I'm curious. I actually want to hear what you think the holes are for Alabama right now.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so looking back to the Wisconsin game, I know it was a complete blowout. Wisconsin came out ready at the beginning of the first and second half. That right there, like, tells me two things. Number one, if Wisconsin is able to drive down the field and score points on Bama, a good consistent drive, then a lot of teams are going to be able to do that. Number two, Wisconsin's only good for 2 drives. So I think against USF, it was a very close game. Obviously, it doesn't look that close if you're a scoreboard merchant, but that game was 7 points with
6 minutes.
5
left, I
minutes,
think. Yeah.
6 minutes less, and USF had ball. I think I know it's more of a wake up call for Bama there, but after coming off a dominant win against Wisconsin, they're not going to be as prepared more. Like, they're more likely to be susceptible to another bad, inconsistent game, like throughout the game. And this Georgia team is going to be able to, like, bring those falls out more. This Georgia team is going to be well coached. They're going to be disciplined. I think, like, the few inconsistencies I've seen, like on offense, not being able to put up points against USF for most of the game, and Wisconsin being able to drive down the field at the beginning of each half, I think it could be a little bit of a landslide or a waterfall, you'd probably say, for Alabama. They beat, and Georgia's coming out ready after they lost in the SEC championship. So I think it could be Georgia's going to come out first possession and score. I think if Georgia's able to put up points in the second possession, it could be very interesting for Bama, but I don't think they have enough consistency to be able to beat Georgia at this point.
Yeah, it does feel like one of those games where the first person that scores is going to win. You know, it's just getting those points is so important. I don't disagree with anything you said, really. I just have faith in the process of them improving upon what they did wrong more than I do Georgia improving on what they did wrong, because you could come up with the excuse for Alabama in the USF game that the offensive line wasn't healthy. But Georgia I think they had a couple injuries, but it wasn't like really that high importance, I guess, is the best word I could think of. I don't think they really lost anyone that would have changed that game around. And like, if they were fully healthy, I don't think that Kentucky game would have went very differently. I don't know. You know, last night when I was going to bed and my head was hitting the pillow and I was thinking about what I was going to pick, I was thinking about picking Georgia. I'm not even lying. So it's one of those games. It's just a pick 'em, really.
Yeah, so
we can cut that out.
I'm not going to.
So for me in this one, I think it's a toss-up, personally. The reason I went Bama +2 is because they're in Tuscaloosa. That was my deciding factor, because I think even though Georgia has looked weak, they're still Georgia. They're definitely gonna get up to play Alabama. They really are.
They have the revenge factor coming in too.
Yeah. So I just took Bama +2 because of the factor. If this is like neutral site or at Georgia, I'm taking Georgia every day of the week. But with it being in Tuscaloosa, and I think as much as, you know, Georgia's coming in for a revenge game, part of me kind of thinks that maybe, and this is a strong maybe because I don't know how Christian feels and he's an actual Bama fan. Personally, I don't think Georgia should be ranked above Bama at this point. I mean,
I think they can be. I think that's fine.
I'm just saying my.
I don't want the
opinion.
rat poison. Okay, it's like
Give
poison.
Christian all the
It's like
poison.
rat poison.
Like in
I'm just gonna start doing
versus the
Saban
Vikings.
quotes. I'm gonna start doing Saban quotes if you keep me.
And I think if
riled up.
Saban's coaching, they're favorites. So
Well, he's there. He's not dead.
yeah, but he's not coaching either. May as
but
well be dead.
his
He-
insight is
He might get a
Whoa,
headset
whoa,
on.
whoa.
He may as well be dead to the team because he's not coaching Cameron. That is what
You
I'm
can't
saying.
let
I
an
don't know about
icon
that
like
one.
that go
Yeah,
away.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Cody. That's a wild take.
I blacked out. What was said?
It's the hottest take
Saban might as well be dead to the team.
because he's not
not-
coaching anymore.
He's like an advisor, and he has an office in the stadium. He's there.
May as well be dead. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So they proved me wrong. I didn't realize that he was still
No, he wasn't.
advising. Interesting, but I didn't know that.
You
After saying that, I-
thought they were gonna say, "Hey, buddy, get the fuck out of here.
no,
You're gone.
I honestly,
You're not allowed
I-
back. You're not
honestly-
allowed."
I honestly thought when Saban retired, he would just do like the college football game day stuff that he's doing, like an analyst for TV.
Well,
Not
game day's at home, so he could be there all week.
that is true. That is very true.
And he's telling them, he's there, and he said, I hate these guys. I want you to go out there and kick Kirby Smart's ass.
You know what? You know what he's doing right now? He told the boar, "Hey, you just sit down, little man. I'm going to show you how this is done real quick."
Yeah.
Sorry.
He told Kane Womack, he was like, I'm going to call the defense in this game.
Yeah.
I got the game plan going. I know how to stop that little man in the backfield.
All right. Moving on. We have another. I think this is an interesting game. I don't know how you guys all feel. We have number 19 Illinois, who has looked really good. I did not expect them to beat Nebraska, playing at Penn State. So they're playing in Pennsylvania. And Penn State is favored by 19 points. That line is crazy. Who came up with that line, Vegas? Do you know something that we don't? Because you probably do.
They did last week. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what. Remember when
I
I
knew
was
a lot more.
I was staring at that
Mhm.
BYU line, and I was like, what do they have cooking?
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit worried about this one too. So.
Me too. That's a really big line. But here's what I think is going to happen. It doesn't matter which way I'm going to pick. The exact opposite is going to happen. Vegas hates me.
So I'm picking the opposite of Cody. Just
No,
whatever he says.
no,
Cody,
yeah.
yeah.
Very,
Opposite
very
this
good to
week, guys.
Just
All
pick
right.
first, quick, so I know
Yeah,
what to do.
I'll pick first real quick. I'm going Illinois plus 19.
Oof.
All right. Christian, you're next because you made the next noise. Who do you got here, buddy?
Penn State sucks.
Hey.
I said this about USC before their downfall. I think I have my nose to the grindstone when it comes to these sorts of teams that are really just not where they need to be. Luke Altmaier is legit. And I hate to say it because I was kind of not on his side last year.
I wasn't on his side last week.
I wasn't on.
I was.
Okay. I preferred Raiola, but Altmaier is legit. He can win football games, and that's what you need to do. And I think that Illinois' defense has been better than expected. They've held a really good Nebraska offense to 24 points. Kansas, who has dynamic pieces, held them to 17 points. Minus 19 is crazy. I think
Huge line.
I feel so badly about picking this because it's so bad that I have to be wrong. There's someone that knows more than me that cooked that number up, and I'm going to look like an idiot. And future Christian, when you're listening to this, you are an idiot for picking this. Illinois plus 19. Got to do it.
Personally, I think this is a terrible line by Vegas. Like, obviously, they might know something, but they're due for a bad line. Like, they've been on the spot for most of these games. They're due for a really bad line. All right, Zach, who do you got in this one?
God, like I hate this game because, well, I think you're wrong on saying Penn State sucks. I think Penn State is really good and has a shot to win the Big Ten this year.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah, like I really want to take Illinois plus 19 here. Like my whole body is telling me to do that, but obviously Vegas knows something that we don't. And I think this is a prove it game for Penn State. Everybody is just like Christian. Penn State sucks. So I'm taking Penn State minus 19 here. I think this is a prove it game for Penn State at Penn State. I think that they come out with a pretty big win here.
So you're taking Penn State minus 19.
I am. I'm doing it.
So we're getting 2 stupid picks of the week. Moving on to Cameron here. Let's see what he's got to say.
Well, so I do like the quarterback combo here, Altmaier and Aller. I think where the spread might come from is last time Altmaier went to Penn State, he threw 4 picks. So I feel like they think he might get rattled, but obviously he didn't get rattled last week at Nebraska. And I'd say that's pretty close to the same atmosphere, if not harder. I do think Penn State can put up points on Illinois. I also feel that the over is somewhat low. I am going to take the over because I don't like the 19. The 19's kind of iffy there.
Sounds like you don't have a pair of balls. Anyways.
No, hold on. I want to say something real quick.
Love you, Cam.
So I hate. I don't like Nebraska. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
I don't hate them. But I hate when people say that Nebraska is an intimidating place to play and it's a hard place to play. No, it's not. It's not. It's not intimidating. Nebraska has been bad for a good amount of time. It's not intimidating to play there. I know that they sell out every game but it's not that intimidating because you know what, for the most part, you know what you're getting when you're going there. Penn State is a different breed. I would put Penn State over Nebraska any day of the week. And it's more or less because Penn State is that good. Penn State can back up the talk of a stadium. Nebraska can't. It's not intimidating for a quarterback to go play there because there's not much pressure. I don't think there's that much pressure playing at Nebraska.
Compare the two teams for the past 5 years. Penn State's obviously been much better than Nebraska has. Nebraska's now starting, I wouldn't say over because they've already had the freshman year with Matt Rule. But now with this year coming in, they've got a much better team than what they've had in recent times. So I think that with having a good defense and then with the crowd noise behind you, I feel like it ups the intensity for the incoming offenses. I get that they haven't been good, so the crowd noise is just blah because the defenses could never shut down the opposing team's offense. I mean, the Gophers beat them. So, I get what you're saying, but I feel like this year's Nebraska's team's a little different. They're a little more high-powered, but I do feel Penn State has the edge when it comes to history. So I see what you mean, but I still feel like if the Gophers went into Penn State at this point, or Nebraska at this point, we'd get demolished. So
yeah, and this isn't the whiteout game. Don't confuse the whiteout atmosphere with the normal atmosphere.
I'm not. Penn State is still one of the toughest places to play, whiteout or not. Whiteout gets like a lot harder, but they're still a really hard place to play, and they have that intimidation factor because they've been that good of a team for that long.
Are they playing Mo Bamba? If so,
everyone plays Mo Bamba on College Football 25. You hear it playing at like UAB or something. It's weird.
We play Dixieland Delight and Sweet Home Alabama because we're cultured. Okay.
Okay. Moving on to the next game here. That game, I think, besides the Georgia-Alabama game, to me, this game is super interesting because, like, Louisville-Notre Dame, we get to find out what Notre Dame's like, but now we get to see if Illinois is for real, like, for real. So I think that's going to be, that's what piques my interest. I'm not saying it's going to be better than the other two, but that one piques my interest the most besides Georgia-Alabama.
Yeah, that has more connotations for you guys specifically in the Big Ten too.
Mhm.
Seeing what they end up being.
Yeah, because I need to know if Minnesota can beat the Fighting Brett Bielema's. So
Unlikely. Let's just
probably
say that
not.
now.
It's just not going to happen. I'm praying. I'm praying though. Anyways, next up we got number 22 BYU, newly ranked after absolutely crushing Kansas State last week at Baylor. This one, I don't know a whole lot about either of these two teams because they weren't on my radar before the season started. So I'm going to let Christian take off with this one because he just knows ball.
Wow. Thank you for that.
No,
Ba-
you don't
Ba-
have that right yet. You don't have that right yet. I will not allow it yet.
When Michigan State hits, then I know ball.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
I'll give it to you then.
Okay. I appreciate that. Baylor, they look all right. I mean, seeing how Utah's performed, their loss doesn't look that bad, honestly. Losing to Colorado in any sense, and especially how they lost on the Hail Mary is ridiculous. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a win against Colorado.
It should have been.
Every day of the week. That's a win against Colorado. So technically, in my mind, they're 3-1, and that loss against Utah is pretty solid. And I think that the BYU ranking is a slight overcorrection on everyone's part.
Mhm.
I mean, BYU is 4-0. They haven't really beaten anyone, and like I said before, the Kansas State game was more of Kansas State beating themselves
Mhm.
in Provo. Like they're and they're playing at Baylor. I don't really know how to feel about this one because I don't like Baylor that much. But it's funny that they're favored, but yet they ended up ranking BYU based on that win. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't have minded if you just dropped Kansas State. Like you didn't have to flip BYU into that.
BYU could have received votes. They didn't have to be in the top 25.
Yeah,
That's where I
but
think they probably should have been
Mhm.
because that is still a big win, and they blew out a top 25 team. So I think they're overcorrecting because they moved Kansas State up so high that when BYU beat the living crap out of them, they just didn't want themselves to look bad later. So they moved BYU into the top 25.
I don't know. I like
Wasn't
Kansas State.
BYU receiving votes? Wasn't BYU receiving votes last week?
They
Oh,
got
last
like
week,
2
yeah.
or 3.
Yeah,
They
so
had
I
two
guess
or
I can
three.
see them being ranked. So I guess, but I still think it's an overcorrection either way.
Yeah, and if you really watched that game, it really wasn't like BYU was lighting the world on fire. It was just sort of they were cleaning up the mistakes. And they were pretty I don't know. This one's
All right.
tough because Baylor's favored, but I feel like that's silly. So
Baylor is favored, and the matchup predictor says BYU is going to win.
I'm just gonna go BYU. I think this is a good spot to just like throw in a little betsy on an underdog that is like a better team on paper. So
Yeah, so I was going to jump into that too. I was looking at it, and the more I look at Baylor, they're 2-2. Yeah, they probably should have beat Colorado, but they would have beat them by 7. Whoop-de-ding. Colorado is not that good. And I'm sick and tired of everyone pretending they are at the beginning of the year because Deion Sanders is there. I don't care what he did in the past. He's not a good football coach. Okay, anyways. Saying all that, I am taking BYU plus 3.5. If they do lose, I think it's on a field goal or something. I don't think they're going to lose by more than 3. So I'm going to take, if they do lose, I think they're going to win. But if they do lose, they're not going to lose by more than 3. So give me BYU plus 3.5. Cameron, what do you got here?
Well, just taking a look at Baylor's offense here, they don't really. I mean, yes, they put up points, but they don't have a lot of production through their quarterback play, which kind of scares me. Robertson only has 463 yards and 3 tuds, which, take it as you will. BYU's ranked for a reason. They beat 23rd ranked K-State. I think they look pretty good. Most of their games haven't been close outside of SMU, and SMU was rated pretty high coming into this year. Some thought they might be in the CFP. Obviously, not really going their way right now. But I was kind of surprised that Baylor was the favorite here. I don't think that's the case for me, at least, that they should be favored by 3.5. I think it should be the other way. BYU plus 3.5 seems free, which will probably bite me in the behind. But I'm going to take BYU plus 3.5.
All right, before we get to Zach's pick here, how many times did we say last week that we thought picks were free picks?
Well, I think we went 0 for 4 on our picks of the week last week. So,
Well, I mean, the free picks that we thought we had just absolutely crushed us.
nothing's
So,
free in this godforsaken
nothing
sport.
is free right now because college football is beyond nuts with what's going on. So, Zach, who do you got in this game here?
The last 2 games, I've completely went away from you guys picking. That trend's not going to continue. I don't like this Baylor team that much. I think that loss to Colorado, while it was on a Hail Mary, is still bad. That Colorado team is not good. They have 2 or 3 players on that team. I don't like them. Well, I would argue, Cody, that everybody's agreeing with you. Everybody is in the know that Colorado is fake. They're not a good team. I don't know where you thought everybody was saying that they're good. At the beginning of the season, yes, I would agree with you. They're way overhyped. But after the first 2 weeks, everybody's like, "Oh, this team is fraudulent."
I did
And
say at the beginning of the
honestly,
year.
I saw it. Well, so did I. So you're not special. I don't like.
He knows
I
ball.
don't. I
knows
knew ball.
ball,
I knew
so-
ball. I don't know ball. I don't know ball right now. I'm struggling, man. But I'm also going to take BYU plus 3.5. I don't like this Baylor team that much. I didn't like that loss to Colorado. The loss to Utah was good, but I just don't think Utah is capable of putting up that many points. So the loss to Utah is worse than it looks. Like, it looks like a good loss. I just don't think Utah is capable of putting up that many points. The defense is just that good. So I'm also going to take BYU plus 3.5. I could definitely see BYU winning by 10.
I think we all that's right now. As of right now, that's our only pick of the week. So that's crazy. But this next game I'm bringing up. All right. So, Christian, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but to me, this team being ranked is the most SEC or Texas football team biased I've ever seen in my life. Oh, get out of here with that. So they lost by 10 to Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame is as good as everyone thought they were. They beat McNeese State. Congratulations. They beat Florida by 13. Florida's not good. Then they play Bowling Green and win by 6. I'm not sleeping on them. I think Arkansas is a better team than A&M is. I 100% believe that. Don't give me that, Christian. We can take this to the parking lot right now, my guy. We will have a tussle over this. So obviously we know who I'm picking. I am going to take Arkansas plus 4 playing at the 12-man. Sorry, I didn't get to the lines because I was so fired up about them being ranked. The line is A&M minus 4. The over-under is 52. I'm taking Arkansas. I don't think A&M's that good. I think Arkansas, they had a tough loss against Oklahoma State. Granted, they only won by 10 against UAB, but they also beat Auburn by 10. I know Auburn's not very good, but at least that's a Power 4 team. And it wasn't Bowling Green. I think UAB is better than Bowling Green. So, yeah, give me Arkansas plus 4 here. If they do lose, it's going to be a 3-point game. So,
Bowling Green catching some shade.
I will throw shade at Bowling Green for beating the Gophers.
Yeah, screw Bowling Green.
I'm just going to pop in quick. Connor Wegman is dead. Woohoo!
Yay!
I've been praying for this day for as long as I can remember. Texas A&M has a dual threat turnover, not prone. Can't think of the word. He takes care of the ball. He can run. He could toss it a little. That's all Texas A&M needed. With my friend of the show, Mike Elko, at the helm there at College Station, I think that Texas A&M to the moon.
If he's a friend of the show, can we get him on next week?
I'll see what I can do about Coach Elko coming
I
on.
gotta pull some strings.
Yeah, he's got to pull some strings here.
I gotta
We'll
go to
just
his
text
house
him.
and stand outside and play a little radio, a boombox. Please, Coach
Hear a
Elko.
boombox careless whisper outside his window.
Yep. We know how I feel about A&M. I think defensively they can hang with anyone. And I think that with Marcel Reed at the helm, this is going to be, I think, his first real week where he is the real number one. I think with him, you can do anything. Talon Green can sling the rock, but he's like Jameis Winston to me. That's my comp for him. He throws the ball away a ton.
Very entertaining to watch is what I'm hearing.
He is entertaining. He had like 450 yards in the game against Oklahoma State, I think. So
He also has 4 interceptions already. So
that's what I'm saying is he turns the ball over. He's just and you know who's going to gobble that up? A Mike Elko helmed defense. So if you can get a decent game out of Marcel Reed at home, it's cake. I think A&M. I think this isn't. I think the fact that they're not higher is SEC hate. A matter of fact.
SEC bias and take
Nope.
it or leave it.
Nope.
Yes. I think A&M shouldn't be ranked at all. Should never be ranked again. Gone. They're always overrated.
Auburn is terrible, and that was a tight one.
So was Bowling Green, and I'd give the edge to Auburn.
Bowling Green has played everyone they've played this year really tight. They're a good squad.
Bowling Green can't win a football game.
I think you're just hating because they laid the beat down on the Beavers.
The Beavers?
The Gophers.
The rodents. The rodents. Yeah.
So A&M -4.
He's wrong. Don't ever listen to Christian again. This is why he is the leader, but this is why he's under 500.
This is why he knows ball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he knows ball. He knows ball, guys. All right. Zach, who do you got in this one?
All right, yeah, Cody. I'm like, this feels super weird saying this because I don't like agreeing with you at all. Like, in fact, I hate it. I hate it more than a lot of things in the world. But I will have to agree. I hate Texas A&M. I think they're overrated year in, year out. The most overrated team in college football, next to Nebraska. But in history, but in recent times, Texas A&M definitely is right up there. So I'm taking Arkansas plus 4.5. I don't like Texas A&M. I never have. I never will until they can prove to me that they can actually win games against good teams, which they can. So it's not going to matter.
The win against Bowling Green is staring at you right in the face.
mention how they barely beat
team.
Bowling Green again. Yeah. Mention it again.
Did you know that they beat the Gophers at one time?
Yeah. Get our revenge. We beat them in a bowl game.
I mean, you could only beat Florida by 13, and that game was half led by Graham Mertz. That's all I need to know right there. Texas A&M is not back. They're still bad. They will be bad.
We're so back, baby. And they're not going to. And here's the thing. They will upset someone at home. They will. They always do.
No.
But it's only teams that are really good that you would think that they would never beat in a million years. Not teams that they probably should beat.
Also, Christian, I just want to point out quick, we have completely agreed one time so far this week.
That's more like it.
Yo.
So that means that this is going to be a good week for us.
Either that or
whenever we don't agree, it works out well.
Well, the problem is that we've completely agreed completely disagreed almost every single time. So one of us is having a bad week, and it's going to be you.
Yeah. And BYU, we're all going to get wrong. So
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
all going to
one-
be
one-
the one pick of the week that we have. We're all wrong.
I'm afraid to put that as a pick of the week.
No, we have to. We all agreed on it.
I don't want to do that. It
Well,
just makes us look bad.
I will text our wonderful social media manager and tell her. So, all right, Cam, who do you got in Arkansas at A&M?
Well, I think A&M got lucky when they played Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame's kind of on the up and up. I think A&M was lucky to get them early on. I don't think Florida's a good football team. They got blown out by Miami. I also don't think Auburn's a great football team. I do like A&M's defense a lot here. But when it comes to a Jameis Winston-style quarterback, he could throw for 5 touchdowns and 350 yards, or he could throw for 120 yards with a 30% completion rate and 4 picks. And against A&M's defense, it's a high probability. I do like the 12th man with this defense. I think they've got something to prove here. That they're not a slouch. The teams they've played so far haven't really amounted to anything other than Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I think there's no shot the over hits here. But I will not take the under.
Do it. You know you want to. You know you want to.
To take the under.
Give me A&M -4.
Oh. Okay.
Wow.
Taylon Green is going to be sitting in College Station like this.
I don't think Oklahoma State, like we talked about Oklahoma State earlier. I don't think they've figured it out yet. So that Arkansas loss, double overtime, doesn't even look good. Because once Oklahoma State figures it out, then they'll be like, oh yeah, we lost to them in double OT. But it just doesn't look like a good loss yet because Oklahoma State hasn't been playing well.
Yeah, and I get it either way. Personally, I do think this is a toss-up, but A&M's overrated, so Vampire Piggies by 4.
I am worried about 4 though. 4 has actually got me a little nervous.
4 is a little bit
I'm
of a
calling
weird
that
number.
to push. 2 safety win.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be 4-0 A&M with 2 safeties.
4 1-point safeties is going to be the difference.
4 1-point safeties. That would be crazy.
All right, we're pushing 2 hours here. We got to move on.
Yeah, we're moving on to our last game. We won't have time to get to what we're going to talk about. What we were going to talk about. We'll just talk about that next week when we go through our picks. Hopefully nothing too crazy happens. Anyways, next up we got Washington at Rutgers. Rutgers is favored by 2.5. The over-under is set at 44.5. And I won't spend much time going in depth. I'll just shout out my pick. And it is Rutgers -2.5 with Athan Kaliakmanis behind center. So, Christian, who do you got in this one?
I got Rutgers -2.5 with Athan Kaliakmanis behind center.
Attaboy. Cam?
Will Rogers has thrown for 8 touchdowns. Kaliakmanis can lick my sweaty balls right now. Washington +2.5. I feel Washington wins this by 2 scores.
All right, Zach, what do you got?
First of all, I still like Kaliakmanis, so screw you guys for the hate on him. Secondly, if there's one thing he's good at, it's the under. Give me the under this game.
Under 44.5 for Zach. All right.
Jeez, that's a low under, though.
I don't hate that because I think that Washington's hit the under on every game,
Yeah,
or
Washington hasn't been
under
good.
44 in all their games.
Yeah, Washington hasn't been great. So, all right.
Since we're still going to come out on top.
I do like that we went more in depth. There are a lot more fun games to go in depth on this week, and I think that's partially why we did it, because we haven't been spoiled with good weeks so far this year. So, anyways, from all of us here at Dinkytown Sports, Sky Yuma, go Gophers.
Roll going flashes.
Balls.
I just want to say thank you. This is the first video we're doing, and we really appreciate if you watched all the way to the end. I know looking at Zach for that long is a real problem. So we thank you for that. We're really grateful that you dealt with that. Follow us on our social medias at Dinkytown Sports. Our Twitter is not really active. We're going to work on that. The website, www.dinkytownsports.com. If you like us, send us a DM. Cam is single.
No,
So,
yeah, I am.
Yeah, attaboy.
If your mom listens, send her my number. All right.
I'm 6'7" too. I'm 6'7", just saying.
We're all over
6'7".
we're all over 6'2", by the way.
Okay, before we go here, though, I would like to mention everyone here has glorious facial hair except for Zach. So
I think his is the most glorious.
the spotty goatee.
Why am I catching hate? What did I do?
You don't know
Christian,
ball.
question for you.
You're not on your high horse
Facial
anymore.
hair.
Yeah. Anywho,
Christian, if we're trying to find this video, where would we find it?
we would find it on youtube.com/Dinkytown Sports. I believe we have that shirt up. Thank you, everyone. Look in the camera. Thank you. If you're watching
Thanks,
this,
everyone. I hope you guys come back.
this is because we're really self-conscious and insecure, and this means a lot that you watched. It's probably just one person, but we love you.
Hey, drop a comment down below, please, too. Thanks.
We do love you
on YouTube,
in a weird way.
comment, subscribe, send it to your friends, send the podcast to your friends. We know ball.
We know ball.
Roll
Not
Tide.
yet.
the
Not right
comeback
now.
season.
But we will. We will.
Roll Tide beat the Bulldogs. Thanks.